ลูกป้อน Good morning, everyone. Please take your seats and we'll get started. We've got a good crowd today. Just a couple of announcements. We ask that everyone please silence your cell phone, and if you wish, take a call. We ask that you please step outside of the room if you need to make a call. Today is Monday, December 8th, 2025. It's 9:30 a.m. We're here to review the Highway Construction Priority Program for the fiscal year 2026-2027 in the DOTD District 2, which encompasses Jefferson, Lafourche, Orleans, Plaquemine, St. Bernard, St. Charles, and Terrebonne parishes. My name is Patrick Connick. I'm the chairman of the Senate Transportation. I represent District 8, which includes Jefferson Parish and Plaquemines Parish. At this time, I want the members of the legislature to introduce themselves.
Representative Pat Moore from Monroe. There you go. Good morning, everyone. I'm Representative Pat Moore, District 17. That's Monroe, West Monroe, town of Ridgewood, and the unincorporated area in Washington Parish.
Good morning. I'm Representative Joy Walters, District 4 in Shreveport, Caddo Parish.
Good morning. Is it on? Good morning, Jacob Rowe, representing Orleans, Jefferson, and Plaquemine parishes.
Good morning, Representative Joel DeBourgeois from District 54, basically Lafourche Parish from Highway 90 down towards Port Fourchon, including Port Fourchon and the Jewel of Jefferson, Grand Islands.
Hi, I'm Lori Schlegel. I represent District 82, which is Old Metairie, Old Jefferson, and Airline Park. I am not on the committee, but I am local to this area and represent mainly Jefferson Parish.
State Representative John Elk, District 78, Harahan River Ridge, and Metairie in the Lafreniere Park area.
State Representative Mike Bayham, Dodge Country, St. Bernard Parish.
Thank you, members. Also in the audience, I want to acknowledge some elected officials who are present. Kimberly Trosclair, who's representing Mayor Glazier, the city of Kenner. We have Ronnie Newsom, the council chairman, a council member of Plaquemines Parish, District 6. We have Miss Jurish, council member, Plaquemines Parish, District 8. Johnny Schattinger, council member, Oswego. Lisa Valance, council member, Oswego. Chris Schultz, council chairman, Plaquemines Parish. Sheriff Jerry Turlich, which is the sheriff of Plaquemines Parish. Anyone else? Oh, Patty McCarty, Plaquemines Parish councilwoman. She has the district with the toll bridge in it. So, all right. And that will be a topic, I'm sure, of the discussion today. As mentioned earlier, we're here to review the proposed highway construction projects for fiscal year 2026-2027 from the Department of Transportation and Development, as well as to allow the public an opportunity to provide their own testimonies in related to highway construction needs in the area. We will start with a presentation from DOTD Secretary, Mr. Glenn Ledet. He will provide a general update on transportation progress within the department, and then we will get into some district-specific initiatives here in District 2 and hit on the highway priority program for next year. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. There we go. You hear me? Thank you. Appreciate everybody being here. Excited to be in DOTD District 02 in New Orleans for our 7th roadshow meeting. Chairman, as you said, excited to really get public feedback and the feedback from the legislature on the critical highway priority program for FY 26-27. What I'd like to do today is really give a quick overview of the progress that we've had both across our state as well as at DOTD, and really highlight the exciting transformation work that's ongoing at our department. I'll turn it over to our new Assistant Secretary of Project Delivery and our District Administrator to highlight the ongoings of activities within District 02, and then really talk about the Highway Priority Program for this fiscal year. But as we get started, we've had really a ton of success over the last several months on the transformation. And so with your leadership, and the leadership of Governor Landry, we've got a new transformation across the state at DOTD. And so amongst those, I know you hear a lot of talk at our joint transportation meetings of us streamlining project delivery, improving all processes across the department, and really doing what I think everyone wants to see, which is getting projects put on the ground, as you can see flashing across our screen, and making sure that we are improving both transportation for the state, but also connecting our communities and really driving economic development across the state. And so just in the short few months since we've taken office here, we've had a lot of success really launching this T4LA Transformation for Louisiana effort. And so really been exciting. We look forward to really continuing to update you at the joint transportation meetings coming next year, as well as through the legislative session. So hopefully you've seen a lot of ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings these last several months, and a lot more on the way. Through this process, we've obviously been dedicated to doing a lot of things, incorporating innovation and technology in the department, making sure that we're driving economic development, connecting our communities. But amongst those, you'll see communication and transparency are critical. And so you've got some new tools there, particularly with our Highway Priority Program, where we're trying to communicate better both to the legislature as well as the public. But key amongst these, one of the cornerstones is project delivery. And so what I'd like to do is welcome up our new Assistant Secretary of Project Delivery, Eric Dauphiné, to tell you a lot about the exciting activities in the Project Delivery Department and making sure that our commitment, his commitment, is getting these projects on the ground faster, more efficient, and on budget. And so, Eric, if you don't mind.
Good morning. Eric Dauphiné, Assistant Secretary of Project Delivery for DOTD. I want to start by thanking everyone for attending. We're excited to see such a good turnout. These public hearings are an instrumental part of our project prioritization and selection process. Feedback from legislators, from local officials, and the public are key parts of the project selection process, along with other factors we include, such as existing conditions, average daily traffic, safety concerns, maintenance costs, economic development, etc. We do utilize this feedback we receive throughout the year to deliver projects that are important to the people that we serve. While these are the official hearings, we also enjoy feedback throughout the year. I do encourage everyone to reach out to the district administrator or myself with any questions, concerns, input, or anything that will help prioritize the needs of people. Legislation last year, as the Secretary mentioned, created the Office of Transformation and the Office of Project Delivery. Both offices aimed at enhancing efficiency, effectiveness, and accountability within DOTD. Since then, we have launched new initiatives to modernize our internal processes. With respect to project delivery, we are evaluating and streamlining our entire process, including our project prioritization, an updated project delivery framework, task and responsibility-oriented project management, a new project reporting system for transparency, and even contract administration and construction phase consistency. Essentially, our goal is to do three things: clearly define our project priorities, establish a 5-year living, fiscally constrained highway priority program, along with ideas on how to fund and resource those projects, and then reform our project management and delivery process to provide for more accountability and consistency from project inception all the way through construction. Another huge effort is with the communication of our highway priority program, specifically more transparent communication. Communicating our priorities, the risk associated with project development, the challenges and opportunities will foster more trust and collaboration amongst all stakeholders needed to deliver critical infrastructure. Aside from internal process enhancements, another key component in the formula, and perhaps the largest component, is funding. DOTD has historically allocated all federal and state dollars in each fiscal year. In the past couple of years, additional dollars through the Louisiana Transportation Infrastructure Fund has helped us advance the delivery of an additional 100 projects, totaling over $530 million in roadway preservation projects alone. There were 62 additional projects delivered on time in 2024, and another 37 projects this fiscal year that are either on or ahead of schedule. In addition to the LTIF funding for capital projects, each district received $7.5 million last year and another $7 million this year in operational maintenance funding. This funding was spent on several typical maintenance operations that each district does on a daily basis, but also on in-house crews use some of this funding to purchase materials to help maintain and preserve our existing system, reducing the assets we have in more deteriorated conditions, which ultimately helps stretch our capital budget. The continuation of these efforts will truly help deliver and advance essential infrastructure improvements and address a growing backlog of needs. So I want to say thank you to all legislators for the trust and commitment we saw with this LTIF funding. And also thank you to the district, the district administrator, the design teams, our construction teams, and even our maintenance teams for taking the challenge in delivering all of these additional projects and additional funding. This combined effort amongst all of us is truly making a difference statewide. With that, I would like to introduce the District Administrator for District 02, Mr. Scott Boyle, to discuss some projects and accomplishments in a little more detail.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, everybody. My name is Scott Boyle. I'm the District Engineer Administrator here in District 02. I've been in that position for almost 3 years now. I've proudly served the department for over 30 years in various capacities. And I'm just very proud to be here and present to y'all today. I'd like to first start off by introducing our leadership team who's in the audience today. So I'll go through our team one by one. Mr. Ennis Johnson, our Assistant District Administrator of Engineering. Ennis is responsible and oversees and directs our project delivery for the whole district, including the Houma Subdistrict. Mr. Nelson Capote, our Assistant District Administrator of Operations in New Orleans. Nelson's responsible for both maintenance and operations in the New Orleans area. Mr. Jacob Onkal, our Assistant District Administrator of Operations in the Houma Subdistrict. Also over maintenance and operations in the Houma area. Mr. Justin Gilbo, our Area Engineer. Is Justin here? He's our area engineer. He's over Orleans Parish as well as the East Bank side of Plaquemines Parish. Mr. Kevin Rizzo, area engineer. Area engineer for East Bank of Jefferson and St. Charles Parish. Mr. Gerald Keller, area engineer for both Terrebonne and Lafourche parishes. Mr. Corbett Hollier, area engineer for West Bank of Jefferson, St. Charles, and Plaquemines Parish, both maintenance and construction. Mr. Corey Godet, our project delivery engineer and design, responsible for the day-to-day direction of the projects that we letter bid and the coordination that we do with headquarters. And Ms. Brittany Rooney, our hydraulics engineer, also involved with day-to-day direction and management of our project delivery team. You know, I looked at the numbers for our team and I want to say I'm very proud. The average amount of time for our leadership team here is over 20 years. Okay. And I really think that speaks volume to not only commitment, but also long-term endurance. And you know, this is something that, again, I'm very proud of. And these are not just we're putting out projects, but these are day-to-day things that come up, special events, emergency events. These are sofas in the roads, potholes that are on side the road that we're filling, you know, requested just last minute or things that we have no control over that we're dealing with. So, you know, again, I keep using the word proud, but I feel like in this case, it's very appropriate. And I couldn't be more proud to work with the team that we have here. I have a couple slides of some projects that Secretary Ledet had put together on a PowerPoint. But before I get into that, I wanted to just express on behalf of District 02 my sincere appreciation for all the continued support that we receive from the legislators and the funding that we get to continue to deliver the projects that foster a safe and efficient roadways and bridges in not only the greater New Orleans area and our Houma area as well. You know, I have some examples of what this funding has been used for, that we continue to use it for on our maintenance side. You know, guardrail repairs. We have, the district has an in-house guardrail crew that works on the non-interstate routes, and we pretty busy with that. But typically, we run out of money almost every March in the fiscal year to repair guardrail on the interstate system. And we've strategically applied this money to make sure that these guardrails are repaired and that they're in serviceable condition. You know, these are major safety issues. We don't like them to get hit, but we certainly rather them get hit than a bridge column or a body of water or some other fixed object that's not as forgiving as that guardrail is. You know, catch basin cleaning. We've utilized money for catch basin cleaning. Again, we have a catch basin crew that goes and cleans out scuppers and different type of drain inlets. You know, there's so many of them. We have trucks to do all of this, but the additional funding to be able to utilize to keep these drains clear and keep this water off of the roads and into the drainage system is critical and paramount. So, you know, I'm very excited that we've been able to do that. As far as projects that we've strategically used this money for on our capital side, we've done culvert replacements, specifically in the Plaquemines area on LA 23. These are pipes that are, in some cases, decades old. They're made out of metal. They've just outlived their useful life. And, you know, these are not something that we're not talking about a 4-inch pipe that you can go get from the garden center at Home Depot. We're talking about big, sometimes $500,000 type of repairs that need to be done. If they're not done when these roads collapse, can't drive on them. We're talking about then detours. We're talking about two-way traffic on the same direction. So certainly, you know, very critical, not very glamorous, but just something that's what I consider the cost of doing business. Loop detectors, these are traffic signal components that we utilize to make sure our traffic signals are functioning in an efficient manner. You come up to a traffic signal and you're sitting there and there's no other car and you're sitting at a red for a couple minutes. These detectors help to where it assigns right away and it detects the traffic and you get a green as soon as you pull up if nobody's there. So very critical. Again, something people don't really think about, but another element to help create a more positive experience and a safe experience on our roadway system. And finally, pavement patching. You know, we utilize patching when a road is not necessarily ready for an overlay or the funding is not readily available, and we want to extend that life until we can get to that overlay. So, you know, this patching will help, you know, help us get that road to when the funding is available and prioritized to do so. So those are the different things, and we doing this all day and every day, and you know, very proud to be doing that. All right, is this the okay? We have a couple projects I wanted to share with y'all that are in the district. Let me see here. Okay. Before it's a very short video, but I wanted to just set it up before we look at it. This is the Green Bridge. This is a large bridge. It's a 55-year-old bridge, and we had a project to paint it. It's formally known as the Intracoastal Waterway Gulf Outlet Bridge. It bridges the eastern New Orleans section of Interstate 10 via LA 47, I-510 to St. Bernard Parish. This is a project that has been ongoing for 2.5 years. When it was built and properly coded, it was the Green Bridge. And in recent years, it could have unaffectionately be known as the Red or Rusted Bridge, you know, but certainly it's been on everybody's mind, and we've, you know, seized the opportunity for both state and federal funding to bring it back to its glory. You know, it's one thing to just paint a bridge, but you certainly want to protect it. But some very few think, oh, well, it's rusted, it's aged, it's still strong. Well, that rust starts eating and degrading away at the structural elements of it. We were fortunate that we only had a few structural elements that we needed to take care of, but it could have been much worse and much more expensive. Again, this was a fairly large project, almost $50 million. We had the ribbon cutting for being functionally complete last month, and I'm very proud to show you the transformation of the red bridge to back to the green bridge. This is just another view of the same thing. All right. And I want to say, you would think, obviously there's a lot of different colors of green. If you ever see foliage in the wilderness, you'll see so many different colors of green. You wouldn't think that there's that many colors of green when it comes to painting an elevated bridge structure. There was a lot of debate and a lot of talk and a lot of deliberation to make sure that we really truly captured the essence of what that green bridge should look like. So, again, we're so excited that that project's finished. The other project is a repair that we had done, and this is down in Terrebonne Parish. This is the Bayou Du Large Bridge. This is a bridge that had some not only electrical, mechanical issues back over the summer, but then we discovered some structural issues. And these things happen all the time. We have so many bridges in this district. There's so much water, and we deal with these things all the time. What was unique about this project was that in a very close proximity, we had 5 other bridges that were either under construction and closed or closed due to emergency reasons. So this created quite the summer for us in Terrebonne Parish with regards to connectivity, with regards to people getting from where they needed to be and from safety. Those issues started in June. The structural issues, this was a major support tower that rendered the bridge unsafe for travel. We had to keep it in the up position. Another interesting fact about this bridge, it boosts a 600 vessel opening a month. We have the Judge Seba Claiborne Bridge in New Orleans, and it fancies itself as having a lot of openings due to the waterway traffic. And I want to say that averages in the 150 to 200 range. This is another animal. This is 600 openings. So you can imagine just the amount of traffic going in and out of that waterway. This project cost to get this done about $1.5 million. And, we were able to get it done within 2 months. We had a consultant, we had a contractor, but, I want to say the diligence, the persistence, and the commitment of not only our district team, our headquarters team to get this thing done and get it finished is truly inspiring. And I want to add one more thing. Because we had all of these bridges that were out at the same time, it created a lot of problems. Fortunately, it was during the summer when traffic's a lot lighter, but it still created a lot of problems. And what I was mostly proud of, we were having daily, sometimes multi-day meetings to give updates, was the communication that we gave to the elected officials and to our constituents. And under Secretary Leday's leadership, who was front and center, who attended these meetings, who made sure that we, every time we put a bolt on that bridge for the repair, we were letting people know that we were doing this work. And I felt that was really that transparency and to be able to let people know what was going on, because they were just like, I can't believe this. Y'all let all of the bridges go out. We're trapped. We're worried about hurricanes. So the communication was top shelf, and it was truly inspiring how all of that happened. This bridge, the last comment I want to make about it, it carries 12,000 vehicles a day. You don't think that that's really a lot, but when you have 5 other bridges in the area of a grid network, it's a lot. Okay, so And this is just a picture of the bridge that I'll share with you. And this is, you can see this beautiful drone footage that we have and how majestic this bridge is down in the Terrebonne area. We were looking at a situation where we didn't know how long it was going to be. The answer was, when is it going to be reopened? You know, further notice. We'll let you know, you know, just because we didn't know what we were getting into. We hit a lot of rods. So the fact that this was a 2-month process, I'm sure for others it felt closer to 10 months. But again, it was something that we really got it done. And on that note, I want to, again, thank you all for giving me the opportunity to be up here. And, you know, at some point, if there's any questions that we're able to answer, certainly we got a team that's going to be able to take care of and address those questions.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. Chairman, if you would, I can continue and finish this presentation. We'd be happy to, Scott and I, answer questions along with Eric about these projects and others in the district.
Okay, well,
Or we
why don't
can
you
pause.
finish your presentation, and we'll have some questions and some
Okay.
other issues.
Yep. So what I'd like to do real quick is just touch on, before we continue on the HPP, is just touch on again is in summary, you can see DOT's investment in action over the last fiscal year. All of this work wouldn't be possible without y'all's support in providing the Louisiana Transportation Infrastructure Fund. Over the last 2 years, that $500 million is going to critical projects, and then the additional $7 and $7.5 million that you gave each district is critical to some of the work that Scott talked about. Those critical repairs wouldn't be possible without that funding. And so thank you for your support and trust. I think the department is following through and making sure that we're delivering all this work on time and on budget. And so you can see some of the statistics statewide, but just wanted to touch on that before I continue with the Highway Priority Program. So thank you again. And so really, you know, why are we here today? It's obviously to review the fiscal year 26-27 Highway Priority Program. And so just as we get started, want to say a few words. Obviously want to give you a quick overview of what this is and what it means to the state, and then touch on the selection process and really review the investment. But, you know, really it's to get your feedback, the feedback of the public, before we move to finalize this or start incorporating this feedback into future plans. And so, as you can see, obviously, this is what outlines road and bridge projects that will be funded for both construction and future design. But ultimately, it's that bottom bullet. It ensures that taxpayer dollars are invested effectively in projects that deliver the greatest public benefit. So every year, we want to make sure that you know we're spending $1 billion or $1.2 billion, as you'll see this year, in taxpayer dollars, as well as federal match, and that we want to make sure you agree that these projects are the greatest public benefit for this year, and that we always have more needs, and so we will be certain to prioritize those for future plans. But this is really what it's about, and then getting your feedback and the feedback from the public. And so every year we start with really the broad goals and objectives of both the department and really the transportation for the state of Louisiana. And so you can see those 5 things highlighted there. And so, you know, if you look at items 1 and 2, it's really to preserve and operate the system. We really want to make sure that we have a highway system that's in a good state of repair, and that it is supporting a resilient transportation system. And so anything that we have to do to deliver those 2 things is really what this plan is about. Always want to encourage and incorporate innovation and technology, particularly with this transformation in place, and then making sure, particularly in this region, in this district, that we've got safe evacuation routes when necessitated by unfortunate catastrophic events such as hurricanes. And so when we talk about preservation and operation, that's what we're thinking of. Of course, you know, one of the most critical things that we do every day is improving the safety of this system. And so making sure that we are prioritizing safety for both motorized and non-motorized users, and making sure that we are doing anything and everything to improve the safety of all of our highway systems. And so that is obviously critical. Of course, economic development is critical, making sure that we're constantly expanding the system as our communities and as our state grows. So anything that we can do to increase accessibility for people, goods, and services, and fostering diverse economic development and job growth is really the expansion of the system. And finally, all of this feeds into making sure that we are improving the quality of life for our citizens, making sure we're fostering multimodal commerce and promoting that variety of transportation and travel options across the state. And so when we think about it, these are the goals and objectives that the department really takes to heart each and every day, and it's certainly in this highway priority program. And so for that reason, you'll see that our projects are really broken down into 5 types. And so just to touch on these real quick, obviously, like I mentioned, preservation, when we think about that, that's the type of work that includes pavement overlays, patching, bridge maintenance, and anything that is maintaining the system in a good state of repair. Of course, that capacity side as well, expanding the system. We are making sure that we're doing anything and everything to add new lanes, add new roadway connections, but that's including roadway widenings, new interchanges, as well as other improvements to help expand the system and relieve congestion. When we think of operations and motorist services, you can see there those typical activities include traffic signal upgrades, lighting improvements, drainage repairs, and other ITS intelligent traffic system upgrades. Of course, safety, as I mentioned, is paramount. Anything that we can do to reduce crashes and reduce the loss of life on our roads is critical. Those are the types of efforts where we're looking at intersection improvements, guardrail improvements, like Scott talked about, pedestrian and bicycle accommodations, and installation of roundabouts at intersections. And then finally, of course, not everything fits into these categories. So we have a miscellaneous category in our investment section where you can see they cover a number of items, smaller repair efforts. The road transfer program is in there as well as other specialized work. And so when we see our investment, they'll be broken up into these 5 types. And then finally, on the general overview is what stage of the project is in. And so oftentimes this is critical, right, between the communication with us, y'all, and the public. And so making sure that we are identifying the projects that are scheduled for letting in this fiscal year. And so that's critical. That means what projects are going to be let for construction in this fiscal year that we advertise and, of course, awarded a contract. And so one of the things that Eric does every day in this new Office of Project Delivery is making sure that what's in this book gets delivered each and every year. And I know that's been historically a challenge across the department, across fiscal years. And so that's why that is the cornerstone for this transformation, is making sure that we deliver, especially on those projects that are supposed to be let for construction. Finally, of course, we have projects in development, and those are anything in that pre-construction stage, planning, engineering, design, environmental, all of the work we do to get it to letting in future years. You'll see that categorized as projects in development. And then finally, of course, some of these projects are larger and have more complex funding plans. And so projects that are awaiting funding, oftentimes we're trying to pair our state dollars with federal grants. And so you'll see that categorized as such in this booklet. And so just wanted to touch on the project types and stages before we move on to a quick overview of selection and then talk about the investment. And so with that, I'll jump right into this. And so as you can see, each and every year before we start prioritizing, we review those goals and objectives. They're actually listed in more detail in our state's revised statute 48229.1. You can see those 8 items really capture all of those goals and objectives. When we really have that matrix looking at those 5, you can see how they fall within that framework. So when the department starts with this process, they make sure that we are looking to achieve those goals and objectives as we start. And so what does this process look like? The first is we have to obviously identify projects. And so this happens each and every year. When we start this, we're gathering and analyzing different types of roadway condition data, operational data, the safety data, obviously crashes and fatalities and other injuries, as well as congestion, then looking at that stakeholder input. And so starting by obviously with these types of public meetings, but also throughout the year, talking to the public, the state and local officials, our MPOs, our rural organizations, federal agencies, FHWA, and others, and making sure that we know what projects are out there of public need that have interest. And then, of course, obviously looking at trying to rank these projects and working with our project selection teams to understand which projects would go in this priority plan and others. And so getting recommendations and technical analysis and input, obviously crossing that with our state's long-range plan and seeing what is on the horizon for the next 10 years and how does that fit into this. And then what available funding do we have this year to incorporate into these projects? One thing, we've got buckets of funding that come from FHWA. And so oftentimes we're trying to match our state dollars with these buckets of funding. And so that can always be challenging. And so we're working the best that we can to make sure we get these projects delivered as fast as possible with those available funds. And then finally, the factors in this selection process, we just want to highlight these. And so again, it's looking at the data and then making sure that we've got this and we're communicating this to all of the stakeholders. So of course, the roadway condition, the condition of structures and drainage across all of our assets in the state, understanding what those conditions are. And obviously, if there are areas that have immediate need for improvement or reconstruction because of unforeseeable emergency circumstances, this pops up throughout the year, but we want to try to get ahead of that and be proactive, particularly as we start this transformation. And so that is critical. When we're talking about, of course, expansion of the system, we're looking at type and volume of traffic everywhere, and again, at intersections, and then looking forward with population growth in each parish at the existing highway system, as well as are we supporting these population increases or changes in population. Of course, on the safety side, looking at crash records and challenges there and making sure we're incorporating that. And then finally, of course, economic development is critical, but also evacuation routes, as we know here in District 02. So all this is taken into account as we do this process. And then finally, this is really what it looks like. And so we take all of those projects, we recommend those and assemble them into a draft highway priority program. That gets delivered to the Joint Transportation Committee on October 1st of each and every year. And so that was submitted to you. And then we then move forward and host these public hearings every year prior to the end of the year. And so that's obviously why we're here today in that red box. And then the goal is to incorporate all of that data into a final draft that gets delivered to both the House and Senate Transportation Committees and then gets discussed during the legislative session of next year for this plan. And so that's really what this process looks like from beginning to end. It's really obviously year round with a lot of effort going on in the summer to kick this off. And so I just want to highlight that before we jump into the investment. And so with that, I'll jump right into the investment before we open it up for questions. And so what are we looking at for this year? And so this year is really a $1.2 billion investment in our transportation infrastructure across the state. And so that is that really big total there that encompasses everything from pre-construction to construction efforts. And so within that, we have obviously projects that are allocated for construction that will be let this fiscal year. And so that is $913 million, obviously almost $1 billion in projects that are allocated for the construction phase. And that makes up 302 projects. So really a big program this year. And of course, you could see those notes down there. The rest of that money is in the pre-construction, the engineering, design, environmental stages with $70 million reserved for contingency, but also for that engineering and inspection work that goes on during construction to make sure these projects are delivered effectively. And so you could see when I talked about those different types of projects, how they're categorized. Of course, preservation is critical, making sure our system is in a good state of repair. And so you'll see that green polygon in this pie chart is $553 million. So that has that largest investment. Of course, we've got $101 million in operations and motorist services, another $74 million in safety, and then another $185 in the miscellaneous categories. You'll see a number of things there. I'll say we often utilize different pots of money on the same project, and so you'll have projects that both could incorporate safety as well as preservation. You'll see that a lot as these projects get more complex, and so just want to highlight that. Is why, we're trying to obviously leverage as much federal dollars within these federal buckets as possible. And so you'll see that combination there. And so with that, I'll just showcase what it goes into these subpartitions real quick before we touch on the districts and close it out. And so there in that that system preservation side, you can see both non-interstate and interstate preservation. You've got everything from our state highway system, the surface transportation, state transportation program. You have our national highway system on the federal side, as well as non-federal aid. And so that makes up a big chunk of that preservation. You've got roadway preventative maintenance work we're doing every year. And then, of course, our bridges, particularly in this district, are critical. So you see, you've got almost 300 million dedicated to both on-system and off-system bridge preservation across the state. And so that's making up a majority of that $553 million. On the operation motorist services side, of course, this does have a lot of categories in it. You could see that ITS and intelligence traffic systems and traffic control makes up those first two buckets. You've got the roadway flooding program that's part of that federal allocation, the PROTECT program. You've got way stations, transportation systems management. You got interstate lighting, rest areas, of course, access management, ferries, and then the movable bridge preventative maintenance program is actually in this category. And so you could see all of those things as well as the ADA program. And then, of course, we have our safety program. You've got highway safety that is across our state on a number of efforts. And then within this category, you also have safety on railroad crossings for upgrades and separations there as well. And then finally, statewide is our miscellaneous bucket. And so you can see there, you've got a number of things. Our TAP program, our transportation alternatives. You got urban systems and a local road safety program that makes up a big bucket. You can see a number of things. Safe routes for schools, safe routes to public places are actually part of this category and not the safety category. You've got the federally mandated electric vehicle program, NEVI, that's part of this. You've got intermodal the connector system, as well as that road transfer program and other efforts that are all part of this. And this makes up that $1.2 billion investment in our state's infrastructure. And then finally, what does that mean for DOTD District 02? And so you can see we've got 46 projects across this district that are going to be let for construction next year. You got anything and everything across this spectrum. You can see an example, the Crescent City connection that we did in 24. And so all of those are really communicated well in our new Highway Priority Program booklet, as well as the attached correspondence that you can get at the desk on the way in. So one of the things that we've looked to do in this transformation is make sure that we communicate this better. So we have this guidebook as well as the attachments there. We've got a one-pager on the district. You could see the map that showcases the projects both in this fiscal year, the last fiscal year, and beyond that are being developed across this district in the different regions. You could see the municipalities there in New Orleans, Houma, and Thibodaux. And so making sure that we continue to improve communication, both for this Highway Priority Program and across the department, is really critical in this transformation. And so just wanted to highlight that. If anybody doesn't have this, please pick that up on your way out and really provide any feedback that you can as we do this process. But hopefully you've seen this improvement in this communication at a minimum, and then obviously the project delivery that we've done both on the LTIF side and this future Highway Priority Program is what we're striving for. So with that, Chairman, I'll turn it back over to you for any questions.
Thank you, thank you, Mr. Secretary. I just want to mention that President Keith Hinckley from Plaquemines Parish has joined us, as also Rep. Tim Kerner from Jefferson Parish. Thank you for that presentation, Mr. Secretary. I have some overall big issues. I'm in this district. We in this district, we use the roads every day. There are maybe two major bottlenecks that we see along the interstate. One is from Kenner to Vets. That's always blocked off and traffic heavy. Also by the Superdome, when you're coming up to the bridge by the Superdome, that's always a lot of traffic in the morning, at night. Also, I know in 2016, if you go online, you see the DOTD website has the metering lights by the Superdome. Those are gone. Those aren't working. What are the long-term goals to fix those bottlenecks in the meter lights? Can y'all answer that?
Yeah, Scott, do you want to come up here? Scott and I can tag team this if you don't mind, Chairman. And you want to start with the metering light, Scott? Yeah.
I know you're well aware, Senator, we had a lot of problems with those ramp meters in the downtown area. They were all functioning. There's 7 of them in total, 4 in one direction, 3 in the other. Sadly, they were all vandalized and stripped of copper as well as all of the other useful metals, and they were inoperable. When we first discovered this, which wasn't long after it happened, we went ahead and initiated a repair on 2 of them and spent $50,000. And sadly, 2 weeks later, they were vandalized again and rendered inoperable again. So we were directed to look at a more permanent countermeasure to try and determine how we could harden that system fiscally reasonably to get those ramp meters back up and running. And we've had meetings with consultants, with internal individuals that work at the department that specialize in the ramp meters. And it's a very big issue, and it's been tied to the homeless encampments that have been under the elevated structures that we've been working recently to abate in that downtown area.
If you go to your website, you have the metering section and it says, well, it saves so much time, prevents these accidents, but they're not working. So I guess, is there a solution to the problem?
Yeah, Chairman, I think we're working on that solution right now. As Scott mentioned, I think we cleaned up some of the homeless encampments just a couple of weeks ago. And so now that we've done that, obviously continue to monitor that. We're going to get you kind of a direct response to that over the next couple of weeks on how we'll try to resolve that issue.
Right, what about the long-term improvements to I-10 and also US 90B?
The big bottleneck coming in from the airport area, there's a bridge right there that, and I believe that bridge is going to be scheduled is with the last widening of the interstate in that section from Loyola to I-10, I-610. But that bridge is the key to unlocking that traffic jam coming from the west into the city. That bridge right there over the Veterans Canal. So that is something I can try to get you some information on when that widening and that's obviously a super project, but that is the biggest issue coming in from there. The other issue that you cite by the Superdome coming from the West Bank over the Crescent City connection, it's tied to the ramp meters. We were getting better connectivity, better throughput from the bridge into the downtown area from the West Bank. Losing all the ramp meters did not help. We're also in a situation of there's more cars than there is capacity to drive through there. We've done studies with the Regional Planning Commission. We've done internal studies looking how can we restripe anything to squeeze the last bit of capacity out of this infrastructure that we currently have. And there's no simple answers to this. We met on a task force that I know you created to try to get answers to this. We still have that study going to try to get long-term solutions. In the short to medium term, we're looking at ways that we can just restripe. At one point, I was trying to figure out a way if we could put 10-foot lanes on that bridge and create another lane. There's a choke point right around the St. Charles Avenue area where the physical bridge structure goes from this to this that doesn't prevent us from even, 10-foot lanes is not safe on a control of access expressway with 60, 70 miles an hour. But the congestion and the limited capacity we have is so great that we were looking at anything of what we could do. It's going to require major expansion of the current.
Well, I think it's important that we look at that, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's something that needs to be done maybe 5, 10 years down the road, but something has to give on that. The other issue that I noticed, and I don't know if y'all addressed it or not, last time I was coming home from Mississippi, driving through the east, the median was terrible. Who's responsible for keeping up the median along I-10? It doesn't look good coming into the city.
That's the department. We're responsible for that. We typically use crews on overtime. We use certain crews in that area. There's a lot of trees there. There's a lot of vegetation. We do our best to keep up with that. And, you know, there's a lot of dead trees that we've gotten out of there, a lot of palms, a lot of oleanders, a lot of crepe myrtles. So certainly we are mindful of that. And, you know, I don't want to just tell you, we clean this area up for the Super Bowl or for the Bayou Classic. You know, true maintenance and true care is on a day-to-day basis, not on when there's a party or something. You know, again, there's a lot of trees we're getting out of there. We're utilizing all our resources to the best of our ability to try to maintain that area as well as all of the other ones in the district.
And I want to thank you for the work doing on the Harvey Tunnel. That's pretty impressive what you're doing there. But we met about 6 months ago and we talked about how can we improve the speed that these projects are developed, the local projects. And I think someone mentioned that if we can raise the authority that the districts have for funding to spend money and keep it out of Baton Rouge. Do you remember that?
Yes, I remember we had a discussion. I know you were very concerned with the pace of that project at the Harvey Tunnel with the businesses and the closures that were in there. Yeah, I remember that
Do
discussion.
we need legislation to give the districts more authority to act without going to Baton Rouge for checks and balances?
We actually did do that, Chairman. So just a few weeks ago, Mr. Duffy made that decision. And so I think we do have that. I don't know that any legislation is required, but certainly that is the reason for this transformation. And so we certainly agree, and that's what we're doing.
All right, good enough. And the last issue, it's, you know, you're looking at these slides and I wrote this down, economic development potential, the goals and objectives of the district, of the DOTD's economic development, quality of life. The toll placed on that Belle Chase Bridge, that has destroyed the economy. So the mission of DOTD about helping the economy grow doesn't work in Belle Chase when those tolls are on. What is the department, what is the state, the governor going to do to address that?
Yeah, thank you, Chairman. As you and I have talked, obviously we've got challenges there, even outside of that before we even get to that topic. And so we are working hard to try to make sure that we work with the developer to overcome those. We've got issues both in construction as well as on the tolling operation side that you and the representative brought up. And so we're working with the governor's office to make sure that we address those and figure out any and all means to do that. So
You get a lot of folks from Plaquemines here, so that's not going to go away. And
understood.
if you hear from Plaquemines Parish, make sure you speak to the secretary before he leaves.
Yes, sir.
All right. I have more, but I want to thank you for your work. I know it's a tough job. Y'all have limited resources. Y'all we need to raise the gas tax, but that's a hot button. We need to give you money to do your job. And we're not giving you enough money, but thank you for what you do. Any other questions anybody has? All right, Mr. Kerner. Press your button.
First, I want to thank you for helping. About 3 weeks ago, I would sit down eating about 11 o'clock, and it dumped a lot of mud on the street that went from Ocala all the way to the expressway. Yeah.
Yes, sir.
All the way to the expressway. And so I couldn't get anybody, so I called the secretary around 11 o'clock at night. And I will tell you, within a minute, I mean, they were out there fixing it. And within about an hour or two, people were able to go back and forth. That was a wonderful thing. And also, Scott, while you're standing there, the other day they had a big hump on the road on Highway 45. And I called up and talked to one gentleman. He said, "Well, we'll get this in about a week." But I hit that doggone thing. I almost ran the ditch. So I said, "I don't think we got a week." And I talked to Scott. But then the next day it was actually done. And that was a wonderful thing too.
Thank you.
The question I got is they do the bridge in Lafayette. They got evacuation road coming from the bridge to the town, and for whatever reason they stopped at about, I guess, like 2,000 feet before it actually got where they have a levee system where the vehicle that's coming for the evacuation would be able to get to a safe haven, a safe place. But now with it stopping 2,000 feet before the levee, it makes no sense because you actually get an evacuation valve that stops 2,000 feet, puts them in the water till they get to the levee system. So I was hoping that we could get a little help in.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Kerner. Yeah, I mean, thank you for your questions. And as you mentioned, Scott and his team did a great job cleaning that mess up on the highway, and so thank them for their hard work that night. And yeah, and to your question, I know we have that gap in that evacuation route, and so that is part of our capital outlay request this year. And so hopefully, with that gets granted, we can finish off those 2,000 linear feet of that highway and tie that into the system that's being put there. So yeah, understood, and we have that on the list.
Yeah, thank you so much. And look,
Thank you.
I've been watching this thing. You're transforming this Department of Transportation into a department that will actually move on projects faster, fix the roads quicker, the infrastructure, and that's going to help with economic development. So I thank you for your job. You
Thank you. Yeah. No, you're not. Bro.
You know, just want to piggyback on what what Rep. Kerner just said, that, you know, especially having both of y'all up here, but, you know, we're talking about highway priority program, transformation DOTD, and try and get things better, done quicker, even though we still have a limited amount of funds. But with that said, just for the record purposes, I want to let people know, like, down in Plaquemines, we had that enormous project with Venture Global, and we had a number of preservation projects that had to be stalled or delayed or whatnot, one of which is supposed to start construction this March. But just to let the public know, we are talking now and coordinating that any future maintenance projects when VG2 comes along. In fact, I just got a notice the other day that, you know, another $18 billion project's coming down here in 2027, that we are talking right now and being proactive to address any future road projects down there on Highway 23 when we still have this 2 years before projects start. Just for y'all want to comment on that?
Yeah, that's a great point, Representative Bro, is to your point, addressing that now and understanding what those future large construction activities will take place in each district. That way we can understand the priorities and make sure they align with that work, whether it needs to be done prior to or needs to wait after. And so that's a great point. We have been talking about that. Thank you.
Thank you.
My question is,
What's your stand?
I think we've been having trouble with the mics, but this worked. Thank you, Danny. My question is about litter, as Scott and I have spoken before, especially on our roadways with large tires from trucks that come off and not only become a danger to other motorists, but also especially along the way from Earhart to the landfill on 90. I know you guys told me you have a schedule and it's contracted out. As I drive back and forth to Baton Rouge, there's certain areas that seem to be cleaner than others. I just like to try and get everyone on the same page. I know you contracted out and it's a schedule. I think someone told me at one time it's when it gets bad enough. I don't want to let it get bad enough. I seem to think if it shouldn't have to get bad enough for me to call. If it's on a schedule and you keep it clean, I think people are less likely to accept the litter. And really, it's the road hazards. I've replaced 4 windshields in my 6 years going to Baton Rouge, and I'm sure I'm not the only one. Those things need to be done, and I'm working with the trucking industry to try and get them to do a better job on their flatbeds, because that's part of the problem is a lot of these things aren't cleaned properly. But we need to clean up the large litter on the roadways. I shouldn't have to drive by it and I shouldn't have to make a call to you guys. So especially going to the landfill. Can you give me an update on the scheduling of when how often it gets cleaned?
Thank you for the feedback, Representative. On the interstate system, we do have a contract. We have a sweeping contract, and we're doing the inside and outside lanes twice per month. On the non-interstate state maintained highways, we certainly have people on the roads every day looking, what we call road running and looking for large debris. We have a 24/7, 365 call. You know, your office calls, private citizen calls. We get calls all the time. There's a mattress on the shoulder. There's a sofa in the left lane. So those obviously are major safety issues. They're handled. Those are handled on an immediate basis. You know, our job description for our superintendents and foremen, they're supposed to touch and look at every road within the district on a 2-week period. And certainly we're not just looking at one road for, every 2 weeks. We have crews that are driving around, they see stuff, they're instructed, and it's part of their job duty to go pick these things up, on-demand calls for emergencies. So there's a lot of people and a lot of eyes on these things. Certainly, we can't be everywhere at every second. We're working very hard, and when we get these calls, please let us know, and we'll go and immediately address any type of issue. And we're doing our very best to keep these roads, as clean as possible.
I know it's gotten better, it's gotten much better, but they still have a long way to go with the large items.
I agree. That's great points, Representative. And I think what we're trying to do is make sure that we beautify the state, and we agree. And certainly if it's a safety hazard, if you saw on the slide, I think we picked up more litter this year than in the DOT's history. So continuing to try to figure out ways to be efficient, but the LTIF money goes a long way to helping us do our job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Schlegel.
I just wanted to give a kudos on Metairie Road. I know you fielded a lot of engagement from our community on it. It was done efficiently. I mean, it was done so quickly. And thank y'all for it. We asked y'all to keep us informed, because I think that our community can tolerate disruption when they're just informed of what's going on. And so thank you so much for everything. The road looks great.
Thank you, Representative. We thought the road really turned out well, and it was ahead of schedule, and again, very, very proud of that outcome, having it completed before the end of the year. More specifically, even before Thanksgiving, people running errands and going out and about. We certainly did not want to have, sometimes construction delays are unavoidable at any time during the year. But if we were able to push this one through, and it's certainly a testament to our project team that was able to keep the contractor on schedule and get it done and in a beautiful condition that it's in now.
Thank you. Also want to fail to mention that Rep. Polly Thomas is here. Thank you, Polly. Rep. Bayham, do you have a question?
Yes, I do, Mr. Chairman. First, I just want to verify what was said earlier. DOTD really has gone above and beyond keeping legislators, at least my office, updated as to the progress of certain projects, particularly the Claiborne Avenue Bridge, which has caused a great deal of consternation in my community with the motors being out, and the Green Bridge closures. But I know I was haunting Justin and Scott like a ghost during that period, but they were always very patient, very timely, getting accurate information. And I worked with them to get with Congressman Carter to work with the Coast Guard on making a more manageable curfew for the industrial canal, where we were only being served essentially by the St. Claude Bridge. So I just want to recognize DOTD. I know a lot of people like to complain about departments when things aren't going their way, but I could tell you that DOTD did a good job mitigating, working with us to ensure that our commuters in St. Bernard and the lower Ninth Ward were able to make the best of a bad situation. So thank you for your patience and for your constant updates on that front. I do have two questions about state highway projects. Number one, Highway 90, has there been any progress related to putting together plans to try to get Highway 90 back into operation, if you will? Because while it's not an official hurricane route, this is New Orleans East running to St. Bernard, St. Tammany. I know the West Pearl Bridge had received damage from a boat, and that bridge has been out. And while it's not an official hurricane evacuation route, I could tell you from my own experience, it does serve as a hurricane evacuation route when I-10 becomes a parking lot during a hurricane. So that's question number one. And question number two, is there any updates related to the timed project, specifically related to the Florida Avenue corridor, which is, I believe, the only outstanding time project that's yet to be worked on? And I know a lot of the money for that project was gutted as part of the Huey P. Long Bridge cost overruns. And those are two areas that really affect my community, St. Bernard.
Yeah, thank you, Representative, for the questions. Regarding question one, I think we're working hard to try to get federal funding for that series of bridges. And so we went up to DC in October of this past year, just a couple months ago, to talk about that. I think that we stand a good chance of getting those funds. And so we are applying for that small bridge grant, and then with hopes that we can pair that with the state dollars that we have to construct that on that western bridge is shared with MDOT, so they would pitch in as well. So we really have that funding plan put together, and the governor was up there as we advocated for that grant program. So we feel good about that.
And just to add, the Assistant Secretary of Transportation up in DC is a dear friend of mine, and I've been meeting with DOT on a regular basis regarding the America 250, which is the cabinet department that is charged with a lot of the promotion work for that. So if there's anything I can do working with y'all with DOT, please let me know. Also, we will have a large delegation of legislators from St. Tammany and New Orleans up in DC in late January. So if y'all would like to put together a meeting at DOT, I'd be happy to head over to, I think, southeast quadrant of DC to meet with them, their headquarters.
Certainly, yeah. Thank you for that. We'll talk after this and put something together. Thank you.
In the timed program?
Yes, so I think we need to dialogue that on the funding plan to get that to construction. So I know you and I had spoken about that. We'll get that meeting on the calendar. I think, as you mentioned, is trying to fill that funding gap that's on that project. And so we'll put that meeting together and then determine how to proceed next steps from here. And so I think we've got that funding gap on that project that needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Proposal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Ledet and Mr. Boyle. I want to start by saying y'all have always been, well, Glenn from CPRA, been knowing you. I'm glad that you're now in this position and we continue to work together. Mr. Boyle, you and Mr. Onkow and Mr. Geller have been very responsive every time I've called. I'm going to submit my my priority request in writing. Just wanted to touch and get a comment on three specific things related to safety. Number one of the things post Ida that I asked was for signage from the elevated highway to be between Golden Meadow and or primarily between Leeville and Fouchon to be done. We did see some progress. All of the mile marker signs have been put up. I know that I'd also requested to be in touch with someone from, I believe it's called Section 56. I don't know if that's the ITS department with we have the Daktronic signs that were there. I would still like to see our investment in those that equipment being actually added up. There's still an issue at that 90-degree turn. Now, James Construction is building the very expensive portion from Golden Meadow to Leeville, doing very good work, progressing that along. But at that 90-degree turn in Leeville, those street lights 4 years after Ida have not been energized. The lights are installed. New hurricane resilient lighting has been installed, but the power is a combination between Entergy, Department of Transportation, and Lafourche Parish government that needs to work on getting it actually energized. And that's one of the things that I think is most important that we do here. Moving on safety. One of the projects, whenever I was sworn in 5.5 years ago, was something called 5 Highway 308 bridges, small bridges. One of them is a small bridge called the McLeod Bridge, and EMS has come up. As I saw crash records come up, I would really like for y'all to look at the crash records associated with that McLeod Bridge. My understanding is that a landowner has given the property rights to be able to adjust a curve. The bridge is in a curve, and a landowner has given property rights to be able to straighten out that curve. And I'm not sure whether or not that's part of the issue on getting this 5 bridge update done. And lastly, bridge maintenance. I love the part about the red bridge turning to the green bridge. And as you know, my Golden Meadow Bridge was out for just a mere 945 days. My bridge of convenience closest to my house took 2.5+ years to get fixed. And now that it is fixed and functioning, and I'm very appreciative to the efforts as long as it took, we do have a project that I consider the highest priority for that bridge to be rehabilitated. And hopefully, my red bridge will once again be a green or a gray bridge or whatever color it is. So I do appreciate what y'all have done. Y'all have become quite responsive. I appreciate it. I see from the map a lot of other projects that are on my list that are being adjusted here. So bridge maintenance, I think we really need in Louisiana, with highlighting all the issues in Terrebonne Parish that you had, my issues in Lower Lafourche. Basically, the budget for scheduled preventative maintenance on our movable bridges in South Louisiana in this district are very important. Appreciate any comments you have on any of those. The safeties on the elevated highway is the bridge with the most accidents or the maintenance.
Yeah, thank you, Representative Orgeron. I think we're all set. I'll start and then let Scott fill in. As you know, we trying to move projects to the left and get them constructed as soon as possible. We were able to do that in LaForte, working on your bridge there in Golden Meadow. And as you and I had dialogue before, we've got that scheduled, and we're trying to accelerate that as much as we can. And so certainly are trying to do that. And of course, always now that we're doing this transformation, making sure we're changing from reactive to proactive maintenance, particularly on movable bridges, because obviously do not want to go through the same things that we went through in Terrebonne this summer. And so always doing that on McLeod. We will look into that and get back to you on that. I don't know, Scott, if you have an update on that, but I certainly appreciate those comments, and we'll look at that geometry and those crash records.
2794 is the project number, and it's been like at least 5 or 6 years in the right to be let, but it's getting pulled off.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see the specifics about the property rights that were given to I'm assuming the department from the property owner?
The property owner has given a servitude to allow y'all to straighten the road. And I believe the property owner is in close contacts with one of the fire chiefs or the EMS people that call me constantly every time there's an accident on the bridge. I get a photo, unfortunately. And that seems to be an issue with the EMS first responders, is this bridge, in other words, having been this long on a list to be let and be repaired, and B, having a property owner who is also aware and giving the right for the alignment to be adjusted for safety.
Yeah, we need to look at those crash records. There may be an opportunity to use safety funds for that. Speaking of an opportunity, I feel like that this lighting issue that you described between the state, the parish, and energy, I feel like that this is a low-hanging fruit type of thing that can be worked out, much more so than straightening out the curve. We're gonna obviously work on that one too, but I feel like that we have an opportunity to try and get that to try to get that resolved and get those lights back on.
That would be great, because it's still dark, and I'm unsure one of the other EMS calls I get are people coming back from Fouchon and missing the 90-degree curve and going into the restraining barrier that's there. And there used to be a huge yellow flashing alternating sign, and ever since Ida, not that it's been 4+ years, but that has never been illuminated. I know we've put solar powered temporary lighting to warn people of the upcoming turn, but 4 years is a long time to wait for returning to normalcy.
I understand. We're going to meet on that. I know last year we met at, I want to say at the start of the year, we went through your list, and certainly I look forward to getting your list, and we'll start, working on those concerns.
And again, I thank y'all for the responsiveness. It's been a good relationship, an improved relationship with DOTD.
Yes, sir. So we'll set something up with you at the start of the year. We'll go through everything and update you on it. But again, there's going to be an opportunity to get those lights back on.
Thank y'all very much.
Quick, sooner
Thank you,
rather than later.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Scott, thank y'all for your presentation. Rep. Ogeron, I think Plaquemines Parish has some high overpriced
Thank you.
orange and yellow paint they can give you. So, all right, if any, we're going to move into our public comment section. If anyone would like to speak, please make sure you fill out your card and get it to me up here. Is Emily Arada still here? All right, I want to call up Katie Bonjanovich. She here? Would you come on up, Katie? Followed by Amelia. Katie, please state your name and who you represent.
Sure. I am Katie Vunovich, and I am representing my small business, which is Haus 131. We're a women's clothing boutique.
All right, thanks for coming.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm here just to talk about, since the tolls have been suspended, my business is up 173%.
Tolls on the Belle Chase Bridge.
Tolls on the Belle Chase Bridge. Collecting the tolls was detrimental to our business. I had, just for instance, a client come to my store. One visit to my store cost her $57.26 because she got told both ways. The administration fee was charged to her both ways, and she also got a mailing fee. So once customers started to get these bills, they stopped coming into our parish. Immediately, once the tolls were removed, it was like a light switch. People started coming back. Like I said, my business is up 173%. We did more in the month of October when they were lifted. We did more in October than we did in July, August, and September combined. I can say that we are also up for this month compared to the summer months when the tolls were being collected. And we've just made sure to have these conversations with customers when they come in, when we know that they are not Plaquemines Parish clients, and asking, we don't know what the deal is with the tolls. We haven't been told anything. They may come back, they may not come back. And every single customer says, if the tolls come back, regardless if they're a penny, they will not return to Plaquemines Parish because they do not trust the company that was collecting the tolls because of all of these unnecessary fees that were tacked on. So I think now more than ever, if the state can help our parish find the funds to buy out this bridge, because if the tolls come back, regardless if it is the penny, it will be the death of small businesses in Plaquemines Parish. And I think that our numbers reflect that. All of the businesses in Plaquemines, we all talk. I know that everyone else is the same way. Their businesses are up. And let's see. And it's not just the fees. It was also little things like, in order to even open an account to get a transponder, you have to put $30 in that account. So what if you were just coming for the day? Now it's going to cost you $30 for a day trip if you had no plans on coming back to Plaquemines Parish. We are not a drive-through parish. The only thing at the end of our parish is the Gulf of Mexico. So to expect people to put $30 in an account to cross a man-made bridge that they may never cross again, and then once you use those funds in your account, it has to be a rolling $30 in your account if you don't want to get charged that administration fee. And so I just think regardless of what happens, there can be no tolls because people will not come back. Our parish, we've even had to spend, our government had to make a commercial to let people know that we no longer have tolls just to get them in there. And the commercial is working because we've also had clients say, we had no idea y'all didn't have tolls anymore. They're back in Plaquemines. They're coming back to eat. They're coming back to shop. But the moment that these tolls get put back on the bridge, they will not come back. So,
All right, thank you very much.
yeah, no problem.
Any questions? Thank you. All right. Okay. So I think she's coming up another.
Hello, my name's Amelia Vunovich, part owner of Salvo Seafood Restaurant in Belchase. I'd first like to thank the governor again for suspending the tolls. He listened to the people of Plaquemines and threw us a life vest when we were drowning. It seems like this administration and DOTD is ready and capable to fix all the problems y'all
Why don't you
inherited.
tell us your business?
Seafood restaurant in Belchase, right over the bridge. So thank y'all for the time, and I'll try to be quick. So for business was horrible for the 5 months of the tolls. In 40 years, we haven't had such a steady decrease in sales. Prior to the tolls being on, we were up 20, 30%. Tolls are implemented and enforced, and our sales hit all-time lows. 40 years in business and all-time lows. And it's not for failure of trying, we're doing specials, basically giving stuff away, trying to get people in. When the tolls were suspended, our sales went back up to normal immediately, not within a week, 2 weeks, immediately. We could see the effect that tolls had on their sales. That was obvious. But we also heard many horror stories from our customers. There were a lot of our regular customers who actively boycotted us and Plaquemines Parish. When I say regular customers, I mean people would come in the restaurant 2 times a week. They'd say, sorry, I'm not paying a toll. I'm like, you guys, you could do this. And they're like, no, I'm not doing it. I won't cross a bridge. I can't take the chance of getting a big bill in the mail. And I can't say I blame them. I hated the fact that I needed to pay a toll to leave my neighborhood. Let's be honest. Plaquemines Parish is like a small neighborhood. We have to leave the parish to get a lot of our necessities. That is why it's absurd to ask our community to pay a toll. Imagine having to pay a toll to leave your gated subdivision. That's what it's like for us. Not only do we have to pay a toll, but our friends and family had to pay a toll to come see us. My first cousin came to visit and crossed the bridge. No big deal. She's a lawyer. I'll pay the $5. I don't care. I'm not getting a toll tag. I don't want to deal with it. Another thing is to sign up. She got the first bill in the mail for $57, just like Katie had said. Her immediate response, my family will have to come visit me. How sad is that this toll is keeping people from visiting their family members, choosing of, am I going to go into a neighborhood to see people that I love and care for because maybe I can't afford it? Christmas around the corner. Don't even get me started on the elderly. The whole process of crossing a bridge is impossible for them. They can't get on the website, and don't even mention an app to them. The ones lucky enough with family members or a younger person to help them, they can convince them to help them. They still get a ridiculous bill in the mail. Now they have to try to call GoPass and fix it, but never did they have luck when they called because they never fixed the bills. From the building of the bridge to implementation of the tolls, plenary failed. The project has been a disaster and it's still not complete. We haven't complained about all the delays and the traffic, but we had a problem when they started taking advantage of us. For 4 months, they couldn't get a website working. Fees than actual prices. Plenary isn't trying to run an honest business. They're greedy and they should not be given a second chance. Please, please, please find a way to buy out this contract. A bridge is supposed to connect 2 places, but all this toll bridge has done was isolate us. Putting the tolls back on would be a death sentence to Plaquemines Parish, and I assure you businesses and residents alike will flee the parish and likely the state if the tolls are reinstated. Thank you again for the consideration and all your time and what you've been doing. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. All right, Emily? Oh, I'm sorry.
I just want to make a quick statement, and I just want to thank Katie and Amelia for coming to testify today, along with all the other businesses that have testified at all our prior committee hearings. This toll bridge, the way it's enacted with the $57 round trip fee and $69 with if you're carrying a trailer or something like that, is not what it was sold to us to be. When you go to Houston or Texas or something like that, it's $1, but it's definitely cut the quaint suburb of Belchase out of the metro area economy. And I just really like to thank all these small business owners that have helped us so Senator Connick and I get the word out on this project.
Thank you, Rep. Pro. Any other questions? Okay, Ms. Arata.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you so much. First I'm Emily Arado with Oshner Health and wanted to thank the committee and the Department of Transportation for bringing the roadshow to Jefferson Parish and to the Regional Planning Commission for hosting. We really appreciate the renewed focus on transparency and communication and appreciate your willingness to listen to the public feedback. I'm here to advocate for projects to improve access along the Jefferson Highway corridor in the heart of the old Jefferson neighborhood, which is really home to the Oshner Medical Center. We believe that if you make investments in improving access along the Jefferson Highway corridor, you'll improve access to really high-quality healthcare at the Oshner Medical Center. We have about 1 million clinic visits a year at this medical center. You'll help improve access to jobs. We have about 7,600 employees at the Oshner Medical Center on Jefferson Highway. And you'll also help improve quality of life and access for the residents of Old Jefferson and also the small businesses that operate in Old Jefferson. We started this partnership with the parish and the Regional Planning Commission and the state back in 2016. Oshner announced a $360 million investment along the Jefferson Highway corridor. And we knew things like doubling the size of the cancer center and building a new center for child development would be really transformative and help improve access to care. We also knew it would create new jobs. We also knew it would create more traffic. And so we really wanted to get ahead of that and together with the parish and the Regional Planning Commission, we helped fund a study that was submitted to DOTD. It's state project number H012523, where for over a year, the Department of Transportation, the Regional Planning Commission, the Parish Public Works Department all worked together to say, what are some solutions we can find in and around this area? We knew the Oshner Medical Center was located in between state highways like River Road and Jefferson Highway, and then the main entryways into there are Earhart Expressway and Causeway, which are also state highways, and so partnership was going to be really important. As a part of that study, we really focused on quick wins. It was a time when we knew that cash was tight and there were a lot of competing priorities. And so we put forward recommendations to improve the intersection of Jefferson Highway and Causeway. It's really low cost, restriping, potentially adding a lane to allow for greater turns there. I think that project is awaiting another traffic study. It was more complicated than we anticipated, but we hope that there can be a low cost solution there. The team, the engineers that were working with the parish and DOTD and RPC also recommended a U-turn under the Earhart Expressway at the LNA road. That project has also been put on hold. I think it was put on hold because the DOTD was anticipating that major super project of Causeway and Earhart Expressway, but I understand that because of rising costs has potentially been put on hold. So that's something we'd love to look at again. And we'd also it's been a little while, this was started in 2016. We've since even furthered our investment. So we are under construction on a major new neurosciences center. We're under construction on a major new home for the Oshner Children's Hospital. Again, this will create more clinic visits, more patients, more jobs. And so we're eager to see a corresponding public investment in infrastructure improvements. So we'd love to see a fresh look at how do we improve access and complete streets in this area in light of our new investments. So again, appreciate your time, appreciate your consideration. We're here as partners and just appreciate your willingness to listen.
Yeah. Thank you for that presentation. I encourage you to talk to the secretary and his staff.
Yes.
And get some details, and let's push that
Yes.
in Baton Rouge this year.
The secretary and his office have been incredibly responsive, and we look forward to working with you. Thanks.
Thank you, Emily. All right, back to Belle Chase. Councilwoman Patricia Patty McCarty. Good morning, Patty.
Good morning. I'd like to,
Please introduce yourself for the record.
my name is Patricia. I go by Patty McCarty. I'm the councilwoman for the District that is taking care of the residents that live next to the bridge. But I want to thank my fellow council members and the sheriff and all of our reps and senators here and our parish president, because it's a group job to try and resolve the issues that we're experiencing in Plaquemines Parish. I want to address some local issues, but for everyone here, I want you to realize it's not just our problem. It's your problem too, because we're going to have toll bridges around the state. And right now, as I understand, Secretary Ledette, we're set to have the same company do the work for all the toll bridges. Is that correct? No? Well, that's good. Because we cannot take care of paying our fines. And there's only one company location other than Tipperary in our parish, and that's in Calcasieu Parish, where we have to go and pay our fines. And if that continues and you get a toll bridge in your area and there's no place to pay your fines, you need to be aware of how they escalate. You've heard some of our small businesses talk about the details of the issues that we have. Well, we need to, in addition to trying to pay off the bridge, we need to look into reparation for some of the companies, the businesses that have not recovered. There are some businesses that have elderly people, older customers that traditionally come from out of the parish. And as you learn from, they don't deal with social media. They don't know that the toll bridges, tolls are down, and they are still suffering, some of them up to 80% down in their recovery. Also, next to the bridge, we have residents that have been struggling and suffering with flooding and pipes breaking and losing their water and gas, and because the companies just dig and ask questions later. And that's been a situation that we've had to deal with on a weekly basis. But I understand that prescription is now 2 years, and this bridge project has been going on for 3 years. Prescription is the time when you can no longer file for a reparation from a claim. So we need to see if we can't extend prescription so that the people who have been harmed, that their houses, their foundations are cracking, you know, they wake up in the morning and they have the popcorn from their ceiling is on the floor. And other people who were just residents passing through had their cars sprayed with paint, and I know that everyone gets windshields broke. I've replaced 3 thus far, and I know that some people in our government have had the same issue. I'm just asking that we look to the bigger picture and not only just paying off the tolls, but helping the people. And I thank everybody that has been working to right this wrong. I really appreciate it. It's not a simple issue to resolve. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions? All right, thank you. All right, Benny Roussel. Benny, please state your name for the record.
Benny Roussel from Plaquemines Parish. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Mr. Secretary, and your staff for attending these meetings and allowing us to voice our concerns. Obviously, I'm concerned about the bridge and want to see you proceed with the negotiations and buy back the bridge. But I'd like to ask that we address the program that's on the agenda today, and that's add to the projects. LA 406 in Belle Chase was once on the listing for widening. In fact, when I was in the legislature, it was part of the package of the renewal of the GNO tolls, along with Peters Road Extension. Those 2 projects were on the list, and somewhere along the way, they got dropped out of the program. And I would like to see the 406 widening project be added to the future program and for consideration. The other 2 things that I would like to address are elevating LA 23 in 2 specific areas. We talked about this after Katrina, but I haven't seen a project developed, and that's at the Lara Seat area, about the Alliance Refinery. I'd like to see the LA 23 elevated there so we don't have to sandbag that area during emergency evacuations, and also in the Venice Jump area where the levee goes, the highway goes over the levee to get to the jump basin area. Those two areas, if we could get those elevated highway projects completed, it would do a lot for our emergency evacuations. The other thing that I'd like to tell you is that please don't paint our bridge orange when you buy back the contract. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. I have a question, Rep. Bro.
I just have a comment that actually, on LA 406,
That's Woodland Highway?
that's Woodland Highway, yes, and that was the quote-unquote alternative route that, was determined when we did the toll bridge and whatnot. And we actually had some traffic counts done and whatnot when the tolling started, but it was done when school was not in. But the traffic increased about 12% on that highway, and that highway is also all the focus of our residential growth. So the actually widening of that LA 406, which is only about it's about a 3 or 4 mile distance that would need to be widened to the Orleans Parish line. So that request was already in with our local government on capital outlay this year. It's a request I've made. I've actually talked to Mr. Boyle about it, but the right-of-way is already there. And I would ask that it be a complete street developed as well to connect all these neighborhoods that we have there. And it could be really a benefit for the community, but it's also necessary due to the traffic inflow and whatnot, and plus the significant industrial projects that we have with the increased traffic there, along with the complications of the toll bridge. Thanks so much.
Hold on. Why don't you talk to him about the Peters Road Bridge?
Oh, yeah, Peters Road Bridge. Actually, the Secretary and I talked about that this morning. Do you want to give an update on that?
Yeah, thank you, Representative Bro and Chairman Connick. So we're trying to finalize the design that we authorized last year. We anticipate having that completed at the end of this calendar year, so that the 98% draft should be complete then. In addition to that, we have the cost estimate from the consulting team, and so we're trying to finalize that funding plan so that we can advertise and bid that project next year. Probably have more resolution on that after we meet with DOA on the capital outlay funds that are dedicated to that project, so we can advertise and bid that. And so anticipate obviously going to construction next year. I'll get you the exact date once I meet with Commissioner Barra on the utilization of those capital outlay dollars. But the 98% plans are set to be complete right before Christmas.
Thank you.
That's good news.
All right. Next up is Councilman Johnny Shattinger from Oswego.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for allowing me an opportunity to speak here today, and thanks Secretary and the staff and all the people involved. I'm here today because I want to personally thank Senator Pat Connick and others for actually getting our street, LA 18 in West Oswego resurfaced. Was badly needed. I'm sure you've heard 2 years ago we had an opportunity to attend. And I know Mr. Boyle has spoken with Ms. Garcia more than once in that occasion, and I personally want to thank y'all for getting that done. It was badly needed and is in the process right now. I also wanted to ask and mention in regard to, I spent about $900,000 for that project, but I was concerned about the remediation of the railroad tracks at LA 18 on the 4th Street and Louisiana Street. They're in terrible condition, and I was just wondering if there's going to be any remediation in regard to that, as it's in the process of being resurfaced right now. And whether it's done now or it's done 6 months from now, it's badly needed. So if you could reach out to someone with the railroad, which I have already, and it's fallen on deaf ears. It's a problem not just there, but other connections in our city, particularly Sala Avenue, which is our historical district. And I'm telling you, fortunately, the speed limit there is slower. But LA 18 at 4th Street, those tracks are used You know the numbers, you know how many people cross that street. And I believe in some of our neighborhoods, we'd probably like to have something like that because you'd have a built-in speed bump, because you're not going to go fast there. In fact, I had someone mention to me that they thought the city was going to pay for their repairs. And I said, you need to direct that elsewhere. The other thing is, I'm glad that this was mentioned and brought up, but this past Friday, I had an opportunity to go out to Mississippi and started in Louisiana and Mississippi and had an opportunity to drive out to see what the status was of the bridge. Was mentioned by the state representative from St. Bernard. This was also brought up 2 years ago in February of 2024, the last time I had a chance to meet here. And I realized that it's not heavily traveled in that respect. But you know what? He brought up a very important point. Should we have another hurricane and we have to evacuate, I would believe that that would be a great source to leave New Orleans East and St. Bernard Parish, because there are no other ways. I mean, you know what the interstates look like. So definitely, it was brought up almost 2 years ago. He brought it up today. And I would hope that you would strongly consider getting that done. I realize that you spent a lot of money, a lot of people, federal, state, and local money in getting the Green Bridge done. My son owns a house in Chalmette, and I travel that way quite often. It's a remarkable project. I didn't realize it was 50 million. I thought it was only 43 million, but must have had a change order or something. But anyway, it's a well connection for St. Bernard and Orleans Parish, and well served, used quite often, and badly needed. The bridge, getting back to the bridge in that connects Mississippi and Louisiana, the bridge that I believe it's the Pearl River. That bridge that connects with the Mississippi, because I reached out to them too, to see if they could maybe figure out why this is being delayed. That bridge is operational. It's the bridge about a half a mile west of that bridge, which is strictly in Louisiana. Now, it too looks like the Rusty Bridge, and naturally it needs to be painted. I didn't get a chance because of barricades to go all the way to the very end to see the bridge that's actually out that connects that area. So if you do that, that would be greatly appreciated. Again, thank you all for being here. Thank you for an opportunity. Thank you for putting me on the list. And Mr. Ball, thank you personally. When I reach out and ask for help in our immediate area, you've always responded. I appreciate that. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Chadger. That's all the cards we have. Oh. Bayham?
Yes,
Go ahead,
sir.
Mike.
Mr. Chairman, first of all, thank you for pointing that out, and just to give you a little bit of an update. While I walked out the room a moment ago, that was the Assistant Secretary of the Department of Transportation, letting them know that we would try to schedule up a meeting to talk about the Highway 90 bridge in late January, and that the Secretary of DOTD has already signaled a willingness to visit with them and our legislative delegation. So just understand it is a major priority, not just for St. Bernard, but for New Orleans East and East St. Tammany.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Those other cards I have, I just want to thank my staff, my secretary, Serena Mohammed, for her work, and Ashana Cade, the attorney for the Senate staff. I want to thank the members of the security team that travels around the state with these folks, and a video team. Y'all do a great job. Thank y'all. These will be broadcast on YouTube, I think, on DOTD's website, these meetings. I thank my fellow legislators and Scott for your work, Mr. Secretary for your work, and all your staff. You have many needs but limited funds, and y'all do what y'all can when you call, you respond. So if there are any other questions, any other business? All right, with that, we're going to convene the roadshow. Rep. Kerner.
Look, I've heard a lot of testimony from the parish, from Plaquemine Parish residents, and I just want to say that I too think is what a terrible deal, Plaquemine Parish, and I want to tell the chairman with, him and Representative Bro, whatever they need from me, any support or whatever, I'll stand ready to help y'all solve the problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Rep. Kerner. With that, we're going to convene the roadshow in Livingston Parish at 2:30 p.m. today. The next meeting after that is going to be in Baton Rouge tomorrow at 10 o'clock. It's going to conclude the roadshow. We are adjourned. Thank you.